Morning and welcome to the Mid-Maine Chamber of Commerce Business Breakfast Series. My name is Kimberly Nadeau-Linloff. I'm the President and CEO of the Mid-Maine Chamber, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here this morning. Before we begin our program, I want to take a moment to thank our 2022 Business Breakfast Series sponsors. They include AT&T, Cross Insurance, New Dimensions Federal Credit Union, Nicholson, Michoud, and Nadeau, CPAs, no relation, O'Donnell, Lee, McCowan, and Phillips, attorneys at law, Sheridan Construction. Our print media sponsor is the Morning Sentinel. Our radio sponsor is the Mix 107.9, and our video sponsor today is Kennebec Savings Bank. I also want to thank our additional sponsor for September, Central Maine Motors Auto Group. We want to welcome our newest members to the Chamber for the month of September: New Balance, Town of Madison, Patriot Power Wash LLC, Four Seasons Financial, Full House Construction, Lynn M. Gray, CPA, and LaValle Chiropractic, PC. Thank you to today's business spotlighters. You may have seen them out back, and they're right here in front. Ames from the Frame Maker and Tiffany from Sam's Club. If you didn't get a chance to go to their table before, please do so as we conclude the breakfast. A reminder to turn off your cell phone in consideration of our guests and speaker. And please don't forget to complete the evaluation forms. There should be one in front of each of you on your table. I want to take a second to go over a few upcoming chamber events. We invite you to attend these. We have a large number of ribbon cuttings this month, if you didn't notice from our ubiquitous emails. We have ribbon cutting at the Lockwood Hotel. That's today, isn't it, Cindy? Okay, it says tomorrow, so just confirming. Yeah, you typed this up yesterday. So it is actually today at 3 p.m., and that's right on Main Street where Levine's used to be, right across from Silver Street Tavern. On Wednesday the 14th, we have a ribbon cutting at Aroma Joe's, the new one that's over on Bay Street in Winslow. Everybody's very excited about that. And then we have one on Thursday, September 15th at Work Health, the Inland location at on KMD in Waterville. It's right next to the hospital. Thursday, September 22nd, we're going to be at Technology Solutions of Maine, which is on Washington Street. That's the new location that used to be an Inland doctor's office. And we'd love to have you at all of those. It's a good opportunity to network, to share your business card with the owner, and welcome to their new location. We have a business after hours in September on Wednesday the 21st at Snow Pond Center for the Arts, which is located at 8 Goldenrod Lane in Sydney. Save the date for the Chamber's Super Raffle Dinner Show, which is going to be held on Thursday, September 29th at the Elm. It's sponsored by Maine State Credit Union. The tickets are on sale now, so you can ask any one of our directors or contact the office. The tickets are $125 each, but you're entitled to dinner for two that night. There is going to be a huge 50-50, because there always is. Even if you don't go, you can buy 50-50 tickets now in advance as well. The top prizes are $500, $750, $1,500, and $3,000. It's being catered by the Heritage House and the Parsonage House, so it promises to be good. Again, check in with the Chamber if you are interested. And you don't have to be present to win, so if you do want a ticket, we'll get the prize to you. Everybody wins something. Our next Chamber member refresher and new member orientation will be held on October 4th at the Chamber office downstairs. It is going to be a happy hour one, so it'll be late afternoon, early evening. And if you are interested in attending, or if you have new employees that you want to introduce to the Chamber, this is a good opportunity to do that. Let us know if you're coming, though, because space is limited. Our next leadership luncheon is on October 13th at Amici's Cucina from 11:30 to 1. Our speaker is Kate McAleer. She's the owner, operator, and founder of Bixby Confections. If you've never had her chocolate, it's amazing. So she's a young entrepreneur that moved to the state of Maine to start this chocolate company. You can register online now. Our speaker today is Alexis Flink. She's the Southern Maine manager for MEMIC. She'll share information regarding workplace impairment and the rights of employers. Alexis will be introduced today by Joy McKenna. She's the Chamber Board Chair and Director of Marketing and Communications for Maine General Health. We're going to do Q&A at the end, and we'll have a microphone that Cindy will be circulating. And we ask that you speak into the mic so that we can capture that on video, because this is live streaming right now. So keep that in consideration when you speak. And that's mostly to remind me. And and also it's going to be put up on YouTube. So if you find this breakfast is really compelling and you want to share it with your staff and colleagues, you can do so as well. So without any further ado, here comes Joy McKenna.
Thanks so much. Thank you for being here today after our summer hiatus. It's really great to see everyone in person again. And as Kim noted, our speaker today is Alexis Flink. Alexis is a Southern Maine manager for MEMEC. She has more than 15 years of experience in providing safety management in the insurance industry and has worked in a variety of industries from hospitals and construction to nonprofit organizations. In this time, Alexis has worked in New England, the South, Southwest, and Midwest. During her time in Tucson, she worked on the safety team on the hit show Extreme Home Makeover, which is a really great story, so ask her about it later. Since 2005, she's been an active member of the American Society of Safety Professionals, or ASP. Alexis started in the student chapter of ASP while she was at the University of Maine, and in 2019, she became the president of the chapter. Alexis received both a BS in Environmental Health and Safety from the University of Maine and an MS in Occupational Health and Safety with a minor in Environmental Management from Columbia Southern University. Alexis holds certifications from the Board of Certified Safety Professionals, Certified Safety Professional, and Occupational Health and Safety Technologist. She has obtained the Workers' Compensation Professional designation from AMCOMP. Please join us in welcoming Alexis.
Good morning, everybody. I'm hoping this mic works for around the room because I don't think it's going to stay here. So those of you that don't know who MEMEC is, we are a safety company that provides workers' comp insurance. No, I got it. Okay. And I am the manager for loss control. So what we do is we work with our policyholders. Many of you have actually worked with either myself or somebody else that is a safety management consultant. We go around and do trainings. We help people develop policies, and hopefully today you'll get some resources that will be helpful for you. So what we're going to do is we'll go over how you can tell when somebody is impaired, and how you as an employer can approach the employee and what your rights are and what the employee's rights are. The most important part of this process, again, is getting you those resources that you can take back with you and start using or start developing today. Impairment in the workplace. It can be anything that will create an employee to cause hazards to themselves or anybody else. It doesn't necessarily need to be a substance. It can be somebody that is extremely fatigued or has a medical emergency. So it's important to look at it as a full spectrum, not just as a substance use disorder or use. Obviously, the things that we look at for issues with impairment in the job is doing damage to themselves or others, or equipment, or whatever they're producing. And the other major issue is the fact that their production is going to be seriously affected. They are not going to be producing as much as they would on a regular basis. And most likely, the people around them that are noticing that their behavior is different are probably not producing as much as well either. So the production is going to be decreased significantly. Before I get into statistics and all the logistical information, I know this is a personal connection for everybody. I figured this was okay to use because this is my friend Jocelyn, beautiful, beautiful Jocelyn, that passed away from substance use disorder. She was a nurse. She was a mom. She, grew up in South Portland, and we are all affected by it. If you haven't been affected by it, I would like to know where your bubble is because I'd love to join. So it's something that you might have somebody in your house that has a substance use disorder that goes to work every day. And so hopefully this will help you as well in that facet. Now to the statistics. This is what we're seeing over the country on the deaths, overdose deaths. And it's obvious opioids are the biggest concentration of these, and they are steadily on the incline. It is not something that's going to be going away anytime soon. I don't know if you guys noticed the news the other day, but just I think an hour from here north, there was like a $250,000 fentanyl bust, which is great. I don't know who is brave enough to have that much on them, because you can die from a pencil lead. But yeah, so this is why it's really important for us to educate ourselves on what to look for and what we can do as employers and employees to help everybody around us to stay safe. Other not so fun facts about substance use disorder in the workplace: 75% of those people that have substance use issues are employed. So that means roughly about 20% of your employees. So if you have 100 people at your workplace, 20 people are probably using on a regular basis. The other issues with regular use is they're absent a lot, and they change jobs a lot, so that costs you money. It costs $7,000 every time you replace, at least $7,000 to replace an employee. So what I usually advise people is, these are red flags that you should look for people. If they're absent a lot, if they're late a lot, make sure that you're recording all this information, because if there is a combination of those, there's a high likelihood that they know the system. They're going to try to fake an injury, and either for medicine or for free work employment, compensation. So you really need to be diligent on recording and seeing those red flags in the workplace. So there's two options pretty much in the state of Maine. There is a drug-free workplace policy or drug testing policy. What I see mostly is the drug-free work policy, because the state of Maine, for having a drug testing policy, has to be approved by the state. So there's some hurdles, obviously some paperwork in order to be approved to be able to drug test your employees. So it's important to have the policies in place for the drug-free workplace. If you do not have something that states in your policy, your handbook, that you're a drug-free workplace, you leave yourself with nothing to fall back on, nothing to hold the employee accountable for. The other thing is, if you are developing policies, you do want to seek legal counsel before you actually implement them, to make sure that you're not crossing over any HR issues. Okay, so what we look for in a perfect world is to have policies and an understanding of all these areas. Have your drug-free policy, have your testing if you can, and for those policies, you're going to need a specific one for prescription pills, because you're going to have people that need to take prescription pills, and a specific one for marijuana use due to the laws of legalization in medical marijuana. And you need to make sure that your employees are going to be educated on that and what the consequences will be if they do not follow through with those policies. Okay. So I got a warning. So what you want to do, people are really, really creative on how they're educating their employees on what they have in place, if they have an EAP, what their insurance covers for rehab and stuff like that. This month is recovery month, so start there. Always, if you guys have an incentive program, always incentivize the good behavior. Put up a poster saying, if you're in recovery now, thank you. Just something like that to acknowledge and support what they are doing to stay sober. But if you have your own intranet site, you can put it on there, and just making sure that the information is getting out on a regular basis. What you'll see in the workplace, I've talked to a couple of you already, and you've said that you smell people with alcohol in their breath. What do how do you handle that? That's a difficult conversation. Cannabis is obviously the one that's in the forefront of most business owners' minds right now because they don't know how to handle it. I have people calling me saying, I see a marijuana pipe in the dashboard of my employee's car. How do I handle that? What can I do? Do you have a policy? No. Okay, well, you got to start there. Opiates, obviously, is something on the increase and covers every age range, every economic socio status that there is. So, and prescription abuse, DXM is cough medicine, which I don't know, if you see somebody chugging cough medicine at work, there might be an issue. And so you just have to be aware of all the things that are possible because people come up with the craziest things. I think when I worked in Arizona, this is part of the inhalants part, but there was a trend. I had a bunch of restaurants and I would see these bottles with feces in them in the sun, in the summer. From May to probably October 1st, it's 100-degree weather there. And I was like, what is going on? What is going on? And I went to a safety conference and talked to some police officers about substance use and what was going on. They're huffing the gas that was built up in that. That is how desperate people are. Yes. So if you go and you see any bottles or glass jars with feces in it in your workplace, then you know that it's used for something else. Have you recovered from that yet? No. Sorry, I think you're the last one to eat because you were late.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so is anybody surprised about the percentage of positive tests for cannabis? This is the state of Maine. 91% of people that are tested. I personally think that's a good indication of the general population. But, again, this is difficult to tell. You can't tell if somebody's using marijuana on site because it's in their bloodstream for so long. So you can't say, okay, you popped this unless you are a health facility or something like that where they can't be on anything. So it is a difficult thing to follow up with for substance use. So, looking into the impairment part, we're not diagnosing people with issues. We can't really go to them and ask them if they have a problem. They can come to you. You're just looking for performance issues. What is creating that performance issue? And obviously, hopefully, if anybody looks like they're creating a safety hazard, they're taken off right away because you don't want anybody injured, including themselves. So going right to the cannabis again. So cannabis is really difficult right now because people can vape right in front of you and you won't even smell it. You won't even know that it's a THC. They can be sucking on a lollipop and you won't know it. And people do that all day long. Gummies, there's chocolate bars, there's anything, so you have to be pretty observant about that stuff. If you see somebody that is constantly having a lollipop in their mouth, ask them to see the wrapper, or if they throw it away, look at the wrapper and see if it's labeled with THC, because they do have to be labeled. You look shocked. I know, yeah. So it can be in a bunch of different, it can be in food that they make, so it's very tricky. So the signs that you're gonna see, obviously the classic laughing, hungry, bloodshot eyes, but they're gonna feel like they might have dry mouth, they might show signs of paranoia and panic attacks. If those issues start happening, definitely take note and handle it. The other important part about the Maine law, I did have some papers up front. I don't know if you guys did grab them, but there's one for the guide for employers, marijuana in the workplace, that has some good information, but highlights for the laws that are in place. You can only discipline employees if it's in the course and scope of their job, if you have marijuana policies in place. So if you have nothing in place, again, you do nothing. The other tricky part is medical use for marijuana in the workplace. If you do not designate or if you do not prohibit any kind of smoking on your property, they still have the right to smoke medical marijuana if obviously it's outside the scope of work. So before or after, hopefully not before, but after work. So you need to make sure that if that is a high priority for you, that maybe you have to also look into prohibiting any kind of smoking on the property. Okay, the narcotics that are out there, they have immediate and sometimes long effects. What we see obviously is the fentanyl and the heroin and oxys. Even the patch, I have seen where people take patches and scrape them out and then inject them. So if you are seeing those around too, it's a sign that somebody might be misusing them if they have multiple at a time, which they should not. Inhalants, again, thinking of your nice bottle in the in the hot sun.
I'm not eating now.
This is something that is a quick hit, a quick fix for somebody, but you can be dizzy and lose consciousness pretty quickly if you are huffing enough. So the prior drugs were all depressors. So what are you going to see in depressants? You're going to see a lot of the drowsiness. You're going to see, I don't know if you guys have looked at any of the videos on YouTube of people being high in the workplace where they're literally nodding off. There's one recently that I saw of a nurse. A patient was videotaping her in the hospital, and she was in the hospital bed videotaping the nurse trying to look at her chart, and she couldn't even hold the pencil and it was falling, and it was so scary to me. I can't imagine how that could even happen. That is somebody that's measuring the medicine that they're putting in your body. So I'm hoping that if I was that person, I would have been up and out of there and not videotaping. So you're gonna see a lot of these different, so if you have somebody that has constant nausea, really, really euphoric all the time, something's gotta be wrong, right? No, I'm just kidding. So look for those in the person that is around. So you definitely want to be able to call 911 if they have severe reactions or they are overdosing. If they're overdosing, they're going to have shallow breathing, a slower heartbeat, and unconsciousness. So I have several clients that have had to take 2 inches off their bathroom doors at their workplace because of so many overdose deaths, whether from people that are working there or visiting. So, so they will know that if somebody passes out, that they can react a little quicker. The other downside to that is one of the nurses that I work with, she got a prescription for Narcan to be able to get people back, hopefully, if they are on her workplace. She was then denied life insurance because she had that prescription. So it's really tricky, and I'm hoping, the laws are a lot slower than what we're getting out there, so hopefully in time stuff will balance out, but that is stuff that does happen, so make sure that you have life insurance before you get a Narcan prescription. And stimulants, all the time, we see people misuse Ritalin, Adderall. People are needing to work more, work faster, and then they just, crash out. And these can last, pretty short term, but can be a long-term effect for a work day or whatnot. And crystal meth. Crystal meth is one of the drugs that is up and coming through. I have a lot of issues with crystal meth down on the New Hampshire-Maine border. And you can, let me see if I, they stay awake for 72 hours at a time, and it's pretty crazy what they do to themselves for that. Hallucinogens, I don't know if anybody has seen they're trying to pass to legalize psilocybin microdosing for mental health issues in California. So that might be another legal thing that we have to deal with in the future. So we'll see how that goes. I don't really have any experience with salvia. Anybody who wants to share later, they can. Dissociative anesthetics, what I think of when on these is when I started watching Cops when I was little, and the people would be on PCP and think that they could move the cars and beat up 10 cops and stuff like that. So definitely some crazy behavior on that. And those are stimulators. So one of the things that you can do if you do have thoughts that somebody is on something, most of the time, if you go into a room and turn on a light and their pupils don't do anything, you can tell that they're already on something that is stimulating their pupils. And again, with the crystal meth and everything like that, people lose their hair, their teeth, their skin. It all malnourishes their body so much that they really just start imploding. Again, a lot of these could be signs of other things. I can tell you that when I first had my kids and they were colicky, I was probably impaired and shouldn't have worked, no. But there's a lot of things that could also show some of these symptoms. So you want to be aware of that as well. And that's why you should have the conversation with them and see what is going on. So if there is something else going on, you can assist them with that as well. Preparing for your approach to talk with them. On one of the sheets that I gave you is your observation checklist. This is something that can be documented, kept on file. It goes through, if you did find paraphernalia, if they admitted substance use, what to look for appearance, behavioral, speech, awareness, motor skills, and then anything else that really is pertinent should be written down below. And then, so you'll have this when you actually have to go and talk to the employee and have them sign off on it. It's really important to keep yourself safe if somebody is under the influence of something or if they're having a mental health issue. So you should meet with another person, another supervisor in order to have this conversation. I've had to help people change up their office positionings because they were getting attacked by clients that would come in and the client was between them and the door. So never have anybody between you and the door, or at least have multiple exits from whatever area you're meeting in. And obviously privacy is everything. You want to keep this person feeling safe and heard, and you need to keep the information private. Okay, and then when you do go meet with the employee, you're going to want to have this with you. Go over what you saw, why the meeting is being held, what triggered it. You're going to want your drug policy that you already have in place right next to it, so you can say you already agreed to this. This is what the consequences are if you do this, and set expectations for performance right then and there, and say, you know, you have 6 months to get have no drug testing, pop on drug tests and stuff. And then again, protecting the employee safety if they are put out to a rehab facility or an EAP program, then all that has to be held in a separate area so nobody else can access that file. For EAPs, you know, I looked at my EAP. I think there was 3 visits for rehab, so hopefully insurance covers a little bit more in depth, or that can be a gateway to getting further help. So it really depends on what your EAP is. So if you don't know what an EAP is, it's an employee assistance program that should be part of your insurance. If you have 20 or more employees, you're required to have it. Next steps, again, this is your right. You can let them go and get the rehab, get the assistance if they did pop a test. But then if they do it again, you aren't required to help them, unfortunately, and they can be disciplined. So this information is, a lot of this information is part of a way wider class for 6 hours at Safety Works. They're really great. I put down the next 2 classes that are in Augusta. If you happen to have 6 or more employees, they will come to your workplace and do it there. If you have 6 supervisors that you want trained or whatnot, they will come into play there. And then there's a list of resources if you want to take a picture, or my card is up front if you want to email me and have any of these files electronically sent to you. And these are really, really helpful for developing those policies. If you are a MIMIC policyholder for workers' comp, you can always reach out, and we have policies that we have in place as well, and we have a lending library and stuff for that. And so this would probably be the time. I really like to hear people's stories of successes or failures on handling substance use in the workplace. So if anybody has stories where they've tried something and it really worked with people, or they tried something and it did not go over well with employees, you know, we're here to support each other. It is, you know, something that the community really has to work together to try to solve this problem. So if anybody wants to take a microphone, or if you have any just general questions for me, you can.
I don't have a testimonial or anything I want to share, but I did want to say the bottom of this resource is the 211 Maine. That's actually physically housed in the Chamber building at 50 Elm Street. So, I mean, you can go online or you can call, but if for some reason you happen to need a face-to-face, Nikki's office is in the Chamber building.
Great. So I'll tell one more story about where not having a drug policy did not help people. I had this arborist company that came in, never had workers' comp before, even though he had been in business for 20 years, another issue. And I would show up to his work site. They weren't using the right PPE. They were having these big injuries, and I was like, what can I do? Like, there's nothing that I can do. We're last choice of insurance in the state of Maine, so we have to accept everybody. And he didn't have an E-mod, which is an experience mod for your 3 years of losses, so there wasn't anything indicating that it was going to be severe. And I went to my boss and I said, look, something's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna die. And so probably within a week, I get a call saying a guy fell 50 feet from a tree. He was with one other new guy that was on the ground. And so part of that was, part of my job is doing investigations. I had to go and check the equipment, make sure it wasn't faulty and stuff like that. So I'm like, I don't know, and he didn't sustain too many injuries. It was great, but it could have been a lot worse. And I knew eventually he would kill somebody, this business owner. So the final root cause analysis that I figured out was that he was still drunk and high from the night before. Well, continuing on to the morning. This was like literally his first tree that he was going up. Didn't even attach to the tree. So, and that is why he did not have severe injuries, because he was still so drunk. So that led me to, what can I do? How can we hold this person accountable? You don't have any policies. Okay, let's get some. The owner wasn't too great about it. So then, I had to hold the hand and go to a lot of these work sites to make sure people weren't falling out of trees. And before I watched this guy, no, actually I had already watched him. He went over on a tree, on a cliff, over the ocean, and then came back, and I was like, okay, we're gonna have to get this, this, and this. And he sits there and lights up a joint. What am I supposed to do? And I'm like, okay, so I know I can't do anything at this point because I know there's no policies in place. So the only thing that I could do at that point was put in a 30-day cancellation notice for that account. So if they don't have insurance, they can't get it from anywhere else. He did, after that, comply. And I do like to say the owner is now sober, so I'm hoping it kind of trickled down to all the employees to follow suit. So I hope this has been a little helpful and you've got some resources, and reach out to me if you have any questions. Okay.
Just a quick question. You mentioned that you should have separate policies, a drug policy versus a marijuana policy. Why is that important I have one policy that covers all of those things?
Okay, so it is because you have to specifically say something about medical marijuana, and you have to have, I'm not exactly sure, I'm not a lawyer, but it has to do with the way that the legislation was written in order to fall back on and hold them accountable for specific medical marijuana, because it is considered legal in the state of Maine. Oh.
You don't need a separate alcohol one, though.
No.
You wouldn't be prescribed that.
No.
Right.
So most drug testing policies include treatment.
Going to use this because
Right. Most
Yes.
includes treatment.
Yes.
We no longer at Hutamaki test for pre-employment for marijuana, but we do still have it in our drug testing policy, which allows us for reasonable suspicion on the floor. Treatment. How do you treat someone with marijuana when it's legal in the state of Maine?
Yeah. So there is a part where they have to prove to you that they have a medical card. So if they say, well, it's for medical use, then they have to show you the card. And obviously, there has to be a portion about it still can't be used in the function of job. If they're operating any kind of machinery, they don't qualify for that job. Yeah. All right. Oh,
I was just going to add, it just seems like if you
wait.
have so it does seem like that if you have a job complementing what Hudamaki was doing and you find out that someone does have a marijuana card, then you open up yourself to how do you terminate this employee? Do you have to, are you obligated, is this an accommodation now? Are you with the ADA or?
I don't know, you guys are the ones in HR.
Well, to me, that's why I'm saying. It's
I know,
like, to
it's
me,
a very, very
you have to
fine
go
line.
to ADA
It
and like,
is.
okay, you
And
can't just
that's where you
terminate him
have
as
to go
accommodation.
to legal counsel and make sure that you're following every step properly. And that comes with accountability, the policies, the writing down the observations and having that backed up for you.
Thinking of a workers' comp issue, if your managers are already got their plate full, if you're trying to document and kind of keep track and suspicion, and then you've
Yeah,
got.
well, I can tell you, if somebody gets injured on the workplace, as you probably know, it takes a lot more time. And it distracts a lot more employees. So it's worth taking the time and initially, especially, I mean, hopefully there's not so many that you're going to have to follow through with, but it's definitely worth the time and the long-term cost.
Call Mehmet.
Yes. Wait.
Well, thank you very much, Alexis. I'd like to remind you to fill out the evaluation forms on your table. We're going to do door prize drawings now. If you came in late and didn't get your name in your business card in the fishbowl, is there anybody who didn't get it in? Cindy can come right over here.
I'm
Yeah,
punishing
I will.
myself.
Well, we don't want you winning your own door prize either. So I do want to thank Alexis for her presentation today. We have this gift for her. And again, I want to thank the Frame Makers and Sam's Club. Our first drawing today is for a $15 gift card to Holy Cannoli, donated by Tri-State Staffing. Thank you very much. And that is going to Kim Kennedy from Kennebec Valley Community College. The frame makers donated that piece there. Not only did they frame it, but Brian drew it, and I'm assuming that's a print.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We used to use that for the Main Street Business of the Year Award, so that's going to Jessica Clark from Professional Logging Contractors of Maine. Next, we have a $10 gift certificate and travel mug donated by Aroma Joe's, and that's going to Brent Dougal of DP Industries, Inc. Maine Technology Institute laptop bag donated by Maine Technology Institute is going to Vanessa of Tilson PLC. It's a lucky table up here, yeah. Are you next, Dwight? $10 Governor's Restaurant gift card donated by Governors is going to Don Plord of Coldwell Banker Plord Real Estate. Sulla Tea Cafe has donated a $10 gift card, and that is going to... Noah Sixbury of Sixbury Solutions, our newest member. He joined on Friday. See, if I could rig those things, I would, and sometimes it just happens. Last but not least, we have a $50 Sam's Club swag bag, and that is
Actually upgraded it.
Oh,
It's a $139 value plus
pasta and beyond.
So a pasta and beyond 4-in-1 from Sam's Club. It's valued at more than $50. And that's going to Kristen Overton of Skills Inc. Yay. So I want to remind you that if you're interested in being a business spotlighter and setting up at the back of our breakfast, we do 3 of those a month maximum, and you just need to call the office and we can get you on that list. We do have 1 more spot in November and I think 2 more in December, and then of course all of next year is open. We also have space in our chamber chatters, if you've been following those on Facebook. They look like Facebook Live, but they're not because so many of us make mistakes. Chad is taping them for us and edits them. But it's good exposure for your business. If you're a chamber member, they're free. We usually get hundreds, sometimes thousands of views on those. So we do them every Tuesday, or they air every Tuesday. We tape them in advance. So just contact the office, let Brandy know if you're interested in doing one of those. And I want to thank you for being here this morning. This concludes our forum. And we hope to see you in October. We have changed that date. It's October 11th. It'll be at the Aon Auditorium at Thomas College. That is our gubernatorial forum. So we hope to see you there. Thank you.